Thank you, Brian, and thank you everybody for joining here today. Today, like Brian said, we're going to talk about setting up, Cube and sending that data over to our cloud for some cloud integration. So we're going to talk a little bit, a couple things here, how to do a little bit of initial setup of the cube, and then how we are going to connect your collector over to our cloud instance. Now, a lot of this stuff is done in the background. Your on-prem collector, we would help you set up and get your license together, because everything is done really on the back end. But the main configuration on the cube and sending that over to your collector and then sending it over to our cloud. So what we're going to do first is, once you guys have your collector up, this could be a new collector, new server, or it could be your existing as well. If you already have Cube data, we would also help with migrating that data over. But for today, we're going to show you how, if this is a brand new setup, how to kind of get this configured. So the first thing we want to do is head into your collector. So right now I'm on my collector that I created. We're going to head over to our platforms, our Cube platforms here. And once you'll have access to this once the license is created and we put that connected license on that collector. And once this pops up, I'll have a couple in here that I was doing some testing with, obviously. So I made a couple here. We will create a new one. So how we'll do this is we hit add new here, and we're just going to name it. So today we are calling one webinar Cube. Now I got to look at my data, make sure I have that right, because that has to match. Yeah, webinar Cube. Okay, cool. So the biggest thing is making sure that this host name matches your Cube host name. So the licensing could understand that. And then it also matters, Cube is sending to the correct directory and things like that. So we want to make sure that host name is correct and that these time zones are correct. So we want to make sure that our verify time zone is matching your Cube time zone, because we don't want to run into any kind of time zone issues there. All right, so once we add that, I've already got the license kind of created on my end. So right now, it says not licensed because I need to refresh. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and update the key here. Of course, it's running a little slow. Runs perfectly when I'm testing, but then I start to share and everything runs a little slower. So that's perfect.
Always the way.
That's how it kind of rolls. So we got to make sure that this thing refreshes here. Should be coming up here shortly. Like I said, once if you do purchase or whatever, we will have. Why did that kick me back there? Of course, this is just how I needed it. They're all not work correctly. But anyway, yeah. So on the back end, we would make sure that your platform is the same as your host name on the key. Not sure why this is now acting a little funny. There we go. All right. So as we can see, Webinar Cube, and we can see that the license status is valid, knowing that this is now connected to your license, so everything's working. That's going to be it for this just real quick initial part, because we wanted to do that because what we want is to create this. I'm sorry, we actually need to go in here and create this directory here. So the directory is going to matter as well. Brian did share, or he's hopefully did a handout in Demio here, where it kind of goes through this guide as well, our Cube Analytics setup and configuration. There's a couple things that need to be added to that knowledge base, but for now, everything I'm going through is going to be on this as well. So we go back here, we're going to make this webinar Cube directory. Can't type either. We should save that. Now that's going to create that directory, so that's going to be important. We're going to leave this disabled for now. So if that handle is, if you go to our KB here, we're going to talk about the kind of the cube configuration stuff and some of the stuff we need to do on our OVA to get this going as well. The first thing we're going to do is create an FTP user that connects to your cube by running some of these commands here. We do come with the default username and password of Variphy FTP and the password of capital V ARIPHY bang bang. So we can use that as well. But if you have multiple cubes, I would suggest that we create new users and then point them to a new home directory so we know where these are going. So right now, this should actually be a dash here. But to add that user, you just use the add FTP user command with your username that you want, usually matching maybe the host name or some other source that you can kind of make sure that you have this go into the correct directory with the password, and then the directory we want this to go to. And that directory was created when we did save this processing file here. So we can see here that op verified data webinar cube is where these files will be sent to. So once we have that set up, we know we have our FTP user. Now we got to tell the cube, hey, let's send this data over via this user and password and into this directory. So in here, I made this slide to make this a little easier because there's a lot of information in this. So I wanted to kind of just condense this a little more so we can kind of view this a little easier and better here. So there's the GW accounting files that will be created on or config that will be created on your cube. Now there's two ways to do this. We can do this as a regular FTP. Obviously this is enable. You're going to go into config T and then you're going to add the information. Here your primary FTP will be the IP address of Variphy with the username, whatever you might have used. Let's say if we did webinar cube for the password as well, we would put that there here and then put in this other information here that's going to tell us how to send, when to close out the files and things like that. And in this document, this does tell you what those commands actually do. I don't want to go through too much of that today, more just kind of a quick overview of the cube setup. And I apologize not having a cube access today, but so now we can do our cube config for SFTP as well. There is a little bit of difference in the configuration, but note here that you need to be on 17.9.5A or above on your Cisco iOS to be able to use SFTP correctly. So the biggest difference is changing primary FTP to primary SFTP. Stuff around here. And then with this new way of doing it, so we can make sure that SFTP is working right. So once that is set up, then your cube should start collecting on its own into the flash those files, and then it should after 55 minutes we should start seeing those cube data coming over to our folder that we created. Also, I got a couple helpful commands here. I just wanted to show that is kind of useful if you're not getting some data, or making sure that we can see all the users. If you did create that user, validate that the firewall is disabled, making sure that VSFTP is running. It's turned off by default. It is there. I think you just have to do enable. Here it should tell you here. I forgot the exact command. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, enable FTP. So just in case it wasn't running, but you can use this to check. Also, big one here is checking that FTP home user directory, because that does have to match. So you can actually just put in here what that username is that you created, and it'll tell you exactly what home directory is being used. And a couple other ones, you could change the password if you want. And if you do change this password, make sure it's changed on the cube side as well. And then there's a log that you can check to see if files are being sent over correctly or being blocked or anything like that. So just a couple commands, which, the only thing that's not added onto our knowledge base right now is SFTP setup. So we will be getting that updated here soon, so you do have that. So once you have confirmed that, I'll bring up our my collector here. Once you have confirmed that files are flowing into that CDR directory, and right now I just have so here's one of the files, let's say, that came in from the cube. It should start with your host name. But what we're going to do is kind of just to pretend that we have files being sent to that directory. I'm just going to actually move this file command I already have saved. This is obviously nothing you have to do, just want to show you. So I'm going to send that over to that directory, and then we'll go take a look at this directory real quick. And you can see we have, where did I send that to? Okay. So we should have, why is Webinar Cube not showing up there? Why is it grayed out? What did I miss there? Well, we can't, that should have created that. Is it not like the dash maybe? Because that should automatically create that directory. Well, you know what? For what we're doing today, it's not a huge deal, but that should, I don't know what I did there. I don't know why it's not showing up as a directory. Maybe I have to actually enable processing, but I wanted to show that at the same time when we do this. All right, so let's say that files are flowing into this directory here. What we're gonna do now is on the back end, real quick. So on the back end, and I'm bouncing around a lot, guys, I apologize. But on the back end, here's going to be your cloud instance that would already been created. When we go here, we can see the other ones that I have that have already been kind of processing data and things like that. So right now we don't see that webinar cube in here. So a lot of this stuff is automated on the back end. So on your collector, once we go ahead in here and we enable this cloud processing and activate, you're going to see that, all right, cloud processing is activating currently. So what's going to happen is on this end, just take some couple minutes here. Actually, not that bad. We can see that webinar cube just got pushed over to our cloud instance. It does say not licensed, so we got to make sure that this has been updated. So let's go ahead and refresh that license. All right, let's go back into it. We should see that that is now licensed on our, not yet, huh? Let me double check the key here. Webinar Cube should be good to go. Make sure to refresh stuff on my end here, but all right, let's go back and update this key again. There we go. Just took a minute for it to send over. So now you can see that after we enabled this cloud processing on this end, this is all done through your license key, that now Webinar Cube is here. If we go to processing, right now it says this automatically creates that database on our cloud side. Right now it says unreachable, but in just a minute or two, this should start showing up just because we just did get that license file working. So we just got to give this a minute or two. It does say enabled. Sometimes, like you said, I saw earlier, it's showing activating, so it's still activating. So we know that we got connected. It just takes just a minute, 2 minutes for, there we go. So it does say disabled here, but if you could see here, there is no more error. So what I need to do is make sure that, send that file over. There's the webinar cube now. So if I go back to, I'm gonna have to move some files around real quick. Oops, went too far there. Because that, let me do something. Let me just pop a file in here again. into that main folder, and then we can move it over so I can show you how that works. Just give me 1 second here. Upload that there. All right, that should be there. So we have that webinar cube. All right, so if I do it ls here, we should see, there we go, webinar cube. Come on. Try this again. There we go. Let's go ahead and remove that dash because we know where it's going into the correct one. All right, so we're gonna move that cube, that file over like it was being pushed over from the cube here. And then if we go in here, here's the CSV, which is going to be your cube data, and should in just a minute or two get picked up by our cloud side here. And once that happens, then you'll be able to see the data that we have. Still hasn't processed it yet. Should be 2 minutes here. I can double check this on my end, make sure we have this set to 2 minutes so that gets picked up correctly. Yep. Just want to make sure things are matching here. Webinar cube. Let's go see if that file's been taken yet. It has not. So just obviously was working so much quicker. Things getting picked up, but once this does get, as you can see, I did this in these other cubes, and I have pretty much the same data. I was just throwing in there, but you can see that the data is. So we should be seeing that here. Just waiting for the database to pick that up. Unless I messed something up, because the directory. This is the directory, but directory is only on the on-prem side, I believe. Yeah. So that shouldn't matter. So come on, database. Don't do this to me. Wonder if I have something wrong in the data there. I shouldn't. Come on, get picked up. Imagine, right? We'll make sure that's webinar cube. Host name's right. Is it because of that? Well, maybe we'll try it that way. Might mess things up. I might be breaking things now. Of course.
Well, this is just a lab environment, right?
Right. It's so funny. You know, you get everything working perfectly, and then it's like, yeah, it's great, and then it's not.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't like. Maybe it doesn't. See, I have dashes in the other one, so I can. Ah, that's a bummer. Let's see. Directory shouldn't matter when it comes to the processing, because as long as that file's in there matching what I have on the cloud side, we should be good. So that's just weird. All right. Of course, it doesn't want to take it. Man. Well, let me double check something here. Yeah, we got the database. Everything's good. Yeah, I mean, that means the license is good and everything. Of course, something there. I did something it did not like. So, well, in my other tests, as you can see, I had this set up really right. As we have our available data. So all these other Jury cubes that I created were created doing the same steps. For some reason, I think maybe I have something wrong in a maybe somewhere in the file name or something like that, because this is just the same used file name, but I just changed the file name. So maybe it's just something in the file name I might have messed up there. So, but you can see that we have available data. If we go to our call reporting or call analytics reporting section, you can see we have the different platforms or different cubes that we have. If we went to Dre Cube 2, which I have data in here, you can see a data summary, where then I can also just do a quick ends with, take a look at current day. And then this should pop up. Yeah, so as we can see, 50 calls for today, because our time period was from April 2nd to today. So yeah, easy. It's like a lot of it's done on the back end to get your collector sending the data over to the cloud, and then obviously we would help with the cube side, the cube configuration. I know a lot of people like to do things on their own too, so that's why we have our guide here that's able to do that. But if you already have cube set up and you're trying to move over to the cloud, then we can help you migrate that information to the as well. All right, other than my hiccup, we should be good with everything. Once again, don't forget the Cube iOS needs to be on 17.9.5a for SFTP to work. So we make sure we have that secure FTP when you're sending that data over. If you would like, we can also use FTP, but obviously SFTP might be encouraged. We double check that data didn't get grabbed. It would be awesome if it did, just so I don't look dumb. It did not. I have something wrong somewhere in a dash or something weird that I messed up. That's why these things have to correlate once, I've done so many of these, now, fourth cube, I might have just messed something up, renaming something just because I don't have live files being sent over, so.
Yeah, now we can do a part 2, how to troubleshoot.
There you go. All right. Yeah, and that should be it for me. Once you guys get, the cloud running, you'll have access to your cloud, with your instance name and everything like that. So you'll be able to access here, and then go view your data, make your dashboards, whatever you need to do with Cube. It's going to be there for you. So
awesome. Great job, Dre. I do not see any questions. I did put the handout out there, so if anybody wants to, just go to the handouts tab and grab it from there. All right. I think with that, we'll go ahead and finish up here.